A movie like Maze Runner seems to be the type of film that is especially tailor-made for a specific audience, a specific age group, if you will. Which I wouldn't necessarily consider to be a problem in general, it's just that I don't consider myself to be a part of that particular audience. Young adult fiction, depends on who you ask, is fiction made for ages ranging approximately from 16 years to the age of 25. So technically, I still am part of the aforementioned age group. Unfortunately, successful film franchises based on young adult literature like the Harry Potter series, the Hunger Games, the Divergent series, none of these have actually left the best impression on me, you know what I mean? Now, I'm not saying these are bad movies, but there's just something between me and these kinds of coming-of-age stories about teenagers or young adults to where there's just this kind of disconnect between me and the characters, to where I find it really hard to be able to get attached to these characters and to relate to the situations they are going through. But what I find interesting about young adult fiction, which has a more science fiction-y edge to it, like Divergent and the Maze Runner series, is that first and foremost they are taking classic contexts like post-apocalypse and dystopia. Now, even though most of the Harry Potter installments went into some pretty dark directions every now and then, Maze Runner: The Scorch Trials really surprised me with its extremely dark tone and gruesome violence. Now, I haven't seen the first Maze Runner, so you have to take into consideration that I went into this completely cold and oblivious. And let me tell you, I was not expecting to see a zombie movie. I saw a zombie movie, and I think I liked it. I am somewhat of a fan of zombie films, and even though recent ones like I Am Legend and World War Z have been far from perfect, Maze Runner: The Scorch Trials was really reminding me of some of those two aforementioned films' best moments. There is a lot of running and screaming in dark and narrow tunnels and passages going on around here, and in all honesty, it's quite suspenseful. As far as directing goes, this is a very competently made film. The atmosphere and just the whole look of this desolate landscape known as the Scorch is really fucking convincing. It doesn't feel overly reliant on CGI, and even though probably a lot of CGI was used, they did a great job in making this post-apocalyptic world seem real, as if it could actually exist. So when it comes to atmosphere, suspense, visuals, special effects, this movie does the best job you can expect it to do. But unfortunately, below the surface, this film suffers from what I was expecting it was going to suffer from. A weak story and weak characters. Maybe it's just me. Maybe the reason why I was a little bit confused was precisely because of the fact that I haven't seen the first movie. But you know what? In my opinion, every great sequel in any franchise should be able to at least somewhat stand on its own. It's enough to just think about some of the best sequels in existence, like The Two Towers, for example, which when I first saw it, it was actually before I ever saw Fellowship of the Ring. And you might say that that's a very idiotic thing to do, and I would agree. But still, having seen that movie before ever seeing the first one, I could still kind of make sense of it. I could still kind of figure out the story, figure out what's going on, why, characters' personalities, their motivations, and stuff like that. I could still figure them out just by seeing the second film in a trilogy. Here, however, besides the main character and maybe the villain, I simply just could not pick up on any of the other characters' personalities. I'm not kidding, I felt that some of these characters only existed for the purpose of having things happen to them. One of them to be captured, another one of them to be a casualty, etc. I already mentioned that this is a pretty balls-to-the-wall zombie film, so it shouldn't be a spoiler that there are going to be at least some casualties. During most of this movie, I felt that important stuff was happening, like relationships being developed, and or falling apart. But during the whole time these things were happening with these characters, I was just looking at the screen and going like, who are you? So it's overly long. This movie is like 2 hours and 10 minutes long. Way too long for a film like this. Way too complicated plot with way too many characters you don't know anything about. Again, maybe I should have watched the first one. Maybe all of the information I felt lacking here is there in the first movie. It's too bad because the acting is good. It's actually very good. But some of the villains, I mean, basically the villains, the human villains here, are just like laughably unthreatening. I mean, the zombies are scary enough, okay? The zombies work. But some of the human villains here, sometimes I was just like, you suck at your job, don't you? It's a good movie. Like I said, it's a good zombie movie. So if you like that sort of stuff, I would recommend checking it out. But it's definitely something that's not really standing on its own. It definitely feels like something that's part of a bigger story. A bigger story which you're not getting yet because there's still gonna be a third one because it's a trilogy. So for example, I'm looking forward to that. Maybe if I'll see it, then I will be able to appreciate this one more. So alright people, that was my 2 cents on Maze Runner The Scorch Trials. Hope to see you with another review soon. Until then, I might be turning into a zombie myself, folks. Alright. Thanks for watching. See you soon. Take care. Bye.